We now go to our second panel for today, and this is called Leveraging Fintech in the New Normal. Fintech refers to finance technologies, and we have very distinguished expert speakers with us this morning. While mentorship is one of the first and vital steps for MSMEs' growth, it is also important for MSMEs to gain access to capital in order to jumpstart their businesses. We present to you the next panel entitled Fintech, Leveraging in the Normal, to talk about capital and helping to move money in a contactless way. This segment is powered by PLDT Enterprise, Smart Communications, and NGCP. All right, let us now welcome our expert panelists for this forum. Let me call on first the Chair of ASEAN Business Advisory Council in Indonesia, Mr. Bernardino Vega.
Hello, good morning,
Dino.
everyone.
Hi.
How are you, Jopin? Nice to be here, and congratulations to Joey on Go Negosyo ang lahat, and also to Amen Philippines for initiating legacy project. And I'm happy to share with you our findings and what we think could be looking forward to the post-pandemic era. Thank you.
Excited to have you, Dino. Now, we'd like to call on the co-founder and CEO of Brancas from Singapore, Mr. Todd Schweitzer.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Todd Schweitzer, the CEO and co-founder of Brancas. Great to be here today, and it's a pleasure to join the Go Negosyo panel.
All right. Good morning, Todd, and welcome to the Go Negosyo ASEAN Mentorship for Entrepreneurs Network community. All right. So I believe we have we have a third panelist, of course, from the Philippines. Somebody I've known for a few years now and has been a guiding mentor to fintech followers in the country. Founder and CEO of PayMaya Philippines, Mr. Doy Bea.
So, hi Jopin. Good morning to everybody. Happy to be in this panel.
Okay, welcome, Doy. We have a powerhouse panel with Dino in Indonesia, Todd in Singapore, and Doy in the Philippines. So, shall we start? All right. I hope our friends are ready. Before we start, I'd just like to remind our viewers on Go Negosyo Live and our Go Negosyo Facebook Live and on Zoom that this is the 15th year anniversary of Go Negosyo. And one of the important things that we would like to impart to you is how fintech can help you in your businesses. So maybe I should start off with that question to all three of you. Just introduce yourself in the context of where you are in fintech in your respective countries, and also how you see your impact in among your neighboring countries. Let's start with Dino, our ASEAN Back Council Chair in Indonesia. Hi, Dino. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jopen. Yeah, I own and operate a peer-to-peer lending platform in Indonesia. We are one of 155 platforms that have been licensed by the financial authorities to operate, and it has really made an impact. The last 3 years, the loans that have been given out by platforms, peer-to-peer online platforms, has been to the amount of $9 billion. Now, these are small ticket size, unsecured, and we're looking at different data points that the banks are not looking at, and so it really feels a gap in the financial sector in Indonesia that focuses on underserved, unbanked communities, especially the SMEs, and so we took upon this initiative to introduce fintech into the Amen project in Indonesia, and so there's a access to funding as well as the marketplace, and we feel that the fintech and the and internet access will be the future for Indonesia and one countries like Indonesia and the ASEAN. Just a couple of data points that I'd like to show you. Our population is probably the biggest in ASEAN. It's 270 million, but we have 340 mobile users. So there are more mobile users than the population itself. And the most interesting thing here is the total number of internet users that uses the mobile to access the internet is about 171 million, and 98% of the users use internet as their basis of communication. So these are just the data points that I want to share with you.
All right. Thank you, Dino. Wow. $9 billion that is filling up the gap where banks are not able to reach the micro and small enterprises. Great. We'd love to hear more of that later as we as you share more about your story. So let's go to Todd. Todd, what's Brancas and what else have you been doing in the fintech space?
Sure. Thank you, everyone, and pleasure to share a little bit about Brancas and fintech innovation, which is more relevant than ever in the pandemic times and the shift to cashless and branchless financial operations. So I'm actually based in Manila, although I'm double-hatted. On the one side, I represent Brancas as CEO and co-founder, but I'm also on the advisory council for APIX, which is an initiative led by the Singapore government to bring together traditional financial institutions, banks, insurance companies, larger lenders, and fintechs, startups working on financial solutions, bring them together to enable faster collaboration and faster product development. So some things that APIX does, for example, are hosting hackathons and tech sprints. In fact, Time Bank and Prudential Insurance are having hackathons right now. And these are cash prizes actually for startups that have a winning solution. But let me talk about Brancas for a second. So Brancas is a fintech company, a financial technology company, and our sole mission is to make it easier for everyday Filipinos, Indonesians, and elsewhere in Southeast Asia to access and interact with day-to-day financial services. What this means is, on the one side, we work with banks to help them build the latest and greatest technology. Typically, this takes the form of a new technology called APIs, which is a fancy way of just saying a way to connect the bank's IT infrastructure to a new financial technology company or a startup that can help create new products or reach a different customer base or just make it a better customer experience. And why do I mention it on this panel? It's because fintech innovation, and particularly this API technology, directly benefits SMEs. And I'm sorry to say that across Southeast Asia, there is one consistent trend in the traditional banking industry, and that is there has not been enough focus on solving SME financial problems. I think especially, the largest banks in the market, they focus on large corporate customers, and the SME experience, anybody on this panel, anybody in the audience who is an SME, a micro entrepreneur themselves, who has tried to go through the lending process or even opening up a bank account at a traditional bank, we're talking weeks to open up an account and go through approval, paperwork. It is so expensive. And so many opt to just informal lending, right? And I'm so glad to have Mr. Vea and Dino on the call, because Dino is solving, alternative lending problems in Indonesia. And of course, Paymaya is doing amazing things for SMEs to enable them to transact online. So what Brancas does is we're providing the technology behind the scenes to make these kinds of new technologies possible and eventually create a world where SMEs have the access to online financial services that they deserve. Brancas operates in Indonesia. We actually launched first in Indonesia, and now we operate across Indonesia, the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, as well as Singapore. But Brancas, but my heart, of course, is with Brancas Philippines because that's where I'm based. And we know that there's such a need to improve fintech for the Filipino micro entrepreneur. So with that, I'll pause, and I'm sure we'll have more to discuss in a bit.
Great. Thank you, Todd. Well, for all the anguish that you were sharing with our audience, you, all the people here in this panel, have turned that into an opportunity. And you're not only troubleshooting, but actually solving many of their problems. Now, I've specifically requested for Paymaya, for Doy Vea that is, to be part of this panel. Why? Because I've known Doy for a while now, and even before the word fintech was coined, he was already trying to solve this gap or plug this gap that all of you mentioned. Doy, please share with us your journey and how you're helping the MSMEs. Oh, but as part of your introduction, of course.
Okay. Thank you, Jopin. Don't tell them how many years.
No, that's a secret.
Hi, Tad. Hi, Dino. Just a quick context on Paymaya. For those who don't know Paymaya yet, we're part of the fast-growing fintech sector, as Tad and Dino have described. And we've seen quite an inflection point during this pandemic. No? So payments, remittance, person-to-person transfers, disbursements, credit, and other financial services have been particularly critical during these times. And we're so happy that we've been able to step up and perform our social responsibility when this environment suddenly came to us. No? So, and for that, I think the Asian Business Awards recognize that effort. No? So in payments, which I want to particularly focus on, Paymaya has a very unique role. We are not just a wallet. We are one of the very few in the world who enable both sides of commerce. So we enable the consumers by giving them a wallet with which they can digitally pay for their transactions. On the other side, we also enable the merchants to accept any form of non-cash payments. So be they credit cards, debit cards, mobile wallets. Now we're able to accept gift checks as well, eventually loyalty points. So that's what we do on the payment side. We enable both sides and in the process create an ecosystem where commercial exchange via digital payments can happen. But we're not only talking merchants, and MSMEs are a big part of that. We're also talking government. In the past, from year on year, government payments has increased by more than 30 times, in terms of digital. So we're enabling e-government as well. And other sectors which probably you wouldn't have imagined in the past. So professionals, casual sellers, even farmers and fishermen, religious organizations, schools. So these are the segments that prior to the crisis were just doing minimal, if at all, minimal digital transactions. We all know that SMEs are, of course, front and center of this. Everywhere in the Philippines, it's 99% of all entities, business entities are SMEs, 52% employment. Same figures, I guess, obtained for ASEAN. So SMEs are really critical in the recovery, in the reimagining and re-engineering of the economy post-COVID. So that's why in our case, what we particularly do for SMEs is, and this is in partnership with Go Negosyo, among others, we have this program called Sulong Negosyo, which means forward business. And what do we do here? We give our MSMEs, an app that is equivalent to a business in a box. So that app, just download that app, and what you can get is enablement on all kinds of non-cash payments. That's one. You can also earn extra income by being able through that app to offer remittance, airtime load, bills payment, gaming pins, and many other businesses that are part of that box, right? And also it gives you a window for discoverability. So Paymaya promotes your business through our various assets. And in the future, we will load this platform with business tools like HR, logistics, financial services, and also access to capital like what Todd does and other financial services. So for those who are for MSMEs now in this forum, you can just download the Paymaya Negosyo app, and everything will be there. Or for inquiries, it's inquiry at paymaya.com for other business solutions. Sorry for the plug, but I thought they might want to know how to access these services. So thank you, Jopin. And
Okay,
everybody.
no, that's perfect. Actually, my next question would be to actually drill down on what you've expressed or what introduced regarding what you're doing, so that our viewers, our viewers right now, we have about 1,500 of them currently logged in and actively sharing their comments. They are people who are as practical as you and me, because they're all business people. They're also people who are looking for ideas and looking for solutions to their problems. So here's what I heard from the three of you. One is that fintech right now, or the successful fintech applications in the region right now, are looking to fill gaps and problems, plug problems that the MSMEs are experiencing. Number two, I also heard you say that you're trying to demystify or make it convenient, make it easy for MSMEs to adopt fintech, because accept it or not, before this pandemic, before our situation right now, people were so afraid to get into it because of for various reasons. And third, that I heard from you is that you have made it almost like a plug and play. You have made available plug-and-play solutions so that they need not think about it. It's almost like breathing or walking for them to be able to get into fintech. All right, so I think that's something that's music to the ears of our viewers. So, well, Doy started it already. He started mentioning the different solutions that he and his team have been making available. So can we now hear from each of you, like particularly for peer-to-peer lending and what Brancas is doing, and then more info, maybe actually the how-to from Paymaya, so that we can get our audience to really drill down to what it is they can be collaborating with you and your apps. Go ahead, Dino.
Okay, so let me just add to Todd's point earlier. Peer-to-peer lending, or the technology for a platform to be able to lend to these underserved, unbanked individuals, is because of AI, right? Because we are able to collect data, and we're able to scrutinize the data that the data that banks are not able to do. Let me give you an example, right? An individual who just started a company, you don't need this, and he doesn't have any track record with the banks. His account in a bank is probably just a savings account, and he wants to start a business. The likelihood of the banks to reject him is quite high, right? But when he comes to a platform, and the data integrity is confirmed, we see data points such as, he pays his bills on time. He shops on the internet at least 3 times a year or 4 times a year, and so the algorithm churns out a credit score, which will enable him to a higher likelihood for him to get a loan approval from a peer-to-peer platform rather than a bank, because we're looking at different data points. And this technology enables us to leap forward in that sense, right? The second thing that I think is important and probably haven't been mentioned, and maybe Todd and Roy can expand, is the regulatory environment that we're facing. Like Indonesia has we have the financial authorities, or what's called OJK, and they provide us a framework, and right now it's based on a sandbox concept. The regulatory framework is quite important for us to be able to enable these individuals or these companies with specialized knowledge to reach out to a bigger market. Number one. Number two, also data integrity. What I mean by data integrity is when we ascertain data and we analyze the biometrics, we want to make sure that, for example, identity cards or personal identity cards are valid and there has not been any fraud or breach. So the ability for us to have those type of data will determine the quality of the data and the quality of the credit score that can be ascertained. So I think those are the main idea for a peer-to-peer platform. I think moving forward, I see, in fact, our President Jokowi has asked the peer-to-peer platforms to be more active in trying to reach out to communities that are not reachable yet. Indonesia is a big country, so the challenge for us is not only identifying these credit gaps, but also geographical. The majority of the activities still are concentrated in the island of Java. So we need to reach out to other islands, especially to the eastern part of Indonesia.
Right.
So that's and in the context of Amen, this is a program that we're inserting in Indonesia to help elevate the Amen legacy project, so that access to funding would be easier to these SMEs.
Okay, Dino, you shared very important points, which the Filipino community, business community, or enterprise community can learn from. You have more 1,000 islands than we do. I mean, you have 11,000 plus, right? We're only 7,000. You're more disaggregated, and you have a bigger population. And but you know, one good thing that you have is that you really have your personal IDs, which help a lot, like you just explained. And many of the listeners now are not familiar with what you said. So thank you for defining that, because then they know what to expect and what to ask from the service providers here in the country. And we're also glad that you've brought up this matter to Amen, to the Amen initiative, because you've enriched a big part of the content that Amen has. So thank you for that. And you've been sharing really good numbers earlier. Is it possible for you to share that with our audience? Should they ask for it?
Sure. I mean, my presentation deck is available.
Okay.
And I've asked them if please feel free.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dino. So Todd, from you, what can you say about that?
Yeah. Sure. So I think for the SMEs and the entrepreneurs in the audience, especially in the Philippines context, here are some things that I think the entrepreneur should expect from their financial providers, right? With the pandemic, many of these small businesses have needed to go online, right? And are now selling through Facebook, selling through Instagram, or maybe they put up a small website and made some investment into a website, which is fantastic, right? Overall, this is great. We're stimulating the beginning, a broader e-commerce economy. However, I think the traditional banking sector is still catching up. Yeah. And my message to the entrepreneurs in the audience would be, demand more from your financial service solutions providers, right? And I think we are seeing more, and again, Paymaya is doing a lot to address this for the micro merchants, but I think some things that we are seeing changing, especially in the Philippines, and that are already changing in Indonesia, which is a little bit ahead. Number one, fully digital account opening. So no need to visit a branch, no need to sign paperwork. On your mobile device, on your mobile app, you can open an account. Even sometimes there are e-wallets or e-commerce sites where you can open a savings account without even logging into the bank app. You can open an account through a third-party site, right? Because they have a partnership. Number two is online payments. And online payments is much more than just paying and getting paid. It's also being able to track your payments, right? So we know the typical way that the small online sellers get paid is, I give you my bank account number, you send me the deposit, you send me a screenshot of your deposit slip, and then I need to do some matching to figure out which deposit matches which order. It's very complicated, very time consuming, very tedious, subject to fraud, subject to bad behavior, and it's not good for business, right? And so I think there are more and more solutions out there that enable for easier payments, not only collecting from customers, not only paying out your suppliers or your marketplace partners, but also tracking and reconciling and figuring out who paid you what for what item, has this invoice been paid, right? That's number two. And I think number three is there are more and more ways to access credit, right? There are more and more ways to access credit. There are traditional banks, but there are also many alternative lenders. And I have to say, there are some digital banks that are offering very, very easy ways to provide low cost, whether it's financing for your inventory, whether it's financing for an invoice if you're waiting to get paid. And so my message would be expect more, because there are a lot of digital banks and fintechs in the Philippines today. And fortunately, I think the Banco Central has been very, very supportive generally in enabling new solutions for fintech. So raise your expectations, because there are these solutions that exist already and can help you fast track your business online.
All right, great. Excellent way to say it, Todd. You want our merchants and our consumers to be more demanding of their financial services provider, which is good because they're actually the ones making the economy turn, right? So good. So mga kababayan, lahat po ng nakikinig, narinig po ninyo yung sinabi ni Todd. All right, now Doy. So you're one of those financial service provider. You've mentioned some of them already. You want to share some more?
I just wanted to say that I think there's never been a better time for SMEs than now, ironically, to gear up for the future. Of course, digital has always been there as a vision, but I think this crisis accelerated everything, and now I think all the pieces are set for SMEs. Todd has and Dino have mentioned several of them. Todd has mentioned all the digital tools that are now available. There are other trends that favor the MSMEs. First of all, consumer demand. So now, what did Visa say? Visa said that 64% of ASEAN individuals prefer transacting on digital, on cashless. So you don't need to educate the market. It's there. They're waiting for you to provide them the right method of payment. Of course, government-wise, there is this policy-supported vision of inclusion. So they want 50% of all payments to be digital by 2023. Maybe they'll adjust that again. Actually, it was supposed to be farther out, but I think they've seen the writing on the wall, and it's happening much faster. And now also I think digital has transformed government as well, as far as ease of doing business is concerned. And PayMaya is enabling that. So both in terms of transparency and convenience, you can now do everything that you need with government, starting from SEC, DTI, DIR, Pag-ibig, PhilHealth. All your regulatory requirements are now done digitally, contactless, cashless. So all of these things, access to information. like what we're doing now, can you imagine this happening in the past for the benefit of the MSMEs? So if you're an MSME, I think you have all the tools, you have all the access to whatever you need to make your business successful. You just need the traditional, risk-taking aptitude to take you where you want to be.
Okay, well said, Doy. Now, there are a lot of questions for the three of you. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. So my message to the audience here, please note that our speakers are very accessible. Just let us know what Go Negosyo, how to contact them, or we'll also be sharing your questions to them so that they and their team will be able to answer your questions. And now, I'm really sorry that I cannot ask you more questions. This has been a very good conversation. Thank you for joining us. And before we go, I hope you can share with us your big smile so that we can have our group photo. All right, so we have here Todd from Brankas, we have Dino from ASEAN Bank in Indonesia, and Doy Vea from Paymaya here in the Philippines. For a second photo, please, let's also do a second photo with 2 thumbs up in solidarity and optimism. No matter what we are going through today, this will soon pass, okay? And Fintech has a wonderful future and a solution for all of us. We are looking forward when we are walking side by side with Fintech solutions and our everyday in-person solutions. Again, thank you, Todd, Dino, and Doy. We will see you again.